Okay, I think I've had at least 10 calls. Are you recording? So, you know, it's Thursday night, Sheva Bracha's weddings, but we are still here and we do not give up and we do not stop. The only thing that I do have to do is while I'm listening to be putting some hands into my dough, so that we mafresh challah at the end, but that is always a good thing. Okay, let's give everybody another minute or so, all right, and then we will get to it. They're all coming in back. Okay, no, it's okay. See, if I need like one of those things that says, no, all good, try again. That's life. If you don't succeed once, you try again. That's it. I actually had the honor again today of going to, you're muted, Aura. Even if we call you Danielle, you're still muted. So I had this, I had the honor today of going in again with our MBE, Lily Ebbett. And this time today was into Hasmonean Boys School. And I have to say that my Zevi was in the class, as was her great-grandson, Gadi Greenbaum. And that was what was really incredible was what these year 12 boys, everybody was quiet. It was actually quiet. And we got a lift home with Benji Shebson. And I think that was definitely something which was, it was wonderful. So when Benji said, you know, he thinks that all the teachers are actually going to be calling Lily to say, can you please come sit in our class, that they all keep quiet. Yeah, that's an amazing thing. But I said, and that was it. So the place of Adar. So I am, okay. Thank you to whoever let us in always. There's a lot of hakara satov, a lot of appreciation. And as I said to somebody this afternoon, isn't it actually incredible? Because one of the things that happens is that we only notice what wasn't happening in the way we thought it would happen when it doesn't happen. Like we don't sort of like say, wow, amazing, we get into Zoom and whatever every time. But gosh, when it doesn't, then we're like, oh my goodness. So it's another part of our gratitudes and of thanking Hashem for everything that we have, which is really our privilege. So I'm going to hand over to you because, you know, I say every month comes and you say you love Shvat, you love this. Well, you know what? I love Adar, but there's part of it that I could skip, you know, sort of like get to Megillah and then Shushan Purim here and thing, you know. But it's all the blessings of everything that come with it. So thank you all for joining us. Aura, thank you for being with us. And we are very excited. And I'm going to keep quiet and mute myself.
Thanks, Jo. Thank you all for being here. As much as I love the world of Zoom and the ability for people to be able to cook while listening in the background, I really appreciate anybody who's appearing on screen. You are taking one for the team because it's very hard to speak into the abyss. So thank you, Rochel, Natalie, and Haley, and Rosie. And no pressure anyone else, but I really appreciate you appearing on screen. That helps.
Not to mention by name, right?
No so pressure to anyone else.
If I start huffing and puffing with my dough, you know why.
It's okay. You can come in and out. As long as I see one live face on screen.
It'll be on my fourth one. I'm here. I'm here with you.
Okay. Thanks, Nat. Okay. And Pauline, thank you. Okay. So here we are. It's actually nice that we caught it this time very close to Rosh Chodesh Adar. So we can still kind of embrace this energy and work on this for the next few weeks. So first of all, and Hanoimi, I was going to talk about the idea. I don't know who of you have joined before.
Can I just quickly just say, because I would love it for all refuahs and Yeshuas for everybody, and including my mother-in-law, Tema Bas Sarah Bela. And I will add at the end, because we also have a Le'ilu Nishmas as of today. And Lahavdil, we will add the other refuahs as well, but just to put it in here now.
Okay, I'm going to just add one refuah, if you don't mind, for Sarah Tehila Devara Bas Nechama Shira Chaya, that we should just hear good news and there should be miracles. Okay, so for those of you that have joined me before, when we've spoken about the theme of the month, I apologize, but I'm just going to review this concept for a minute for those of you that are not familiar with this, okay? The idea is that every month that starts comes with its own unique kind of power or energy. And every month it brings with it a unique kind of light that if we know what to plug into, we can draw a certain light out of that month and take that into the rest of the year with us. We can use it for a kind of a spiritual growth that we don't get an opportunity elsewhere in any other month. So the Jewish calendar is built on the concept that not when we celebrate a Chag, it's not just that the Chag is commemorative of something historical that happened, and that's why we're doing what it is that we're doing, but rather that the way that the world was created is that at the beginning of creation, every month was invested with a certain energy, and because of that energy, certain events came to be. So in other words, the story of Purim could have only happened in Adar because of the energy invested in the month of Adar, and because of Pesach could have only happened in Nisan because of the certain energy invested in the month of Nisan, okay? So therefore, the reason that's a very powerful concept is because it means that although there's one aspect of the Chag that is commemorative and is about connecting back to the history of the story and remembering the experiences that the Jews experienced, it means also that that energy or that power is as relevant to us here and now in 2023 as it ever was. We need to figure out what the power of the month is because we have it accessible to us to plug into, to change our own personal lives. This is not just historical. This is for here and now. So it's worth our while as we pass through the calendar, plugging into the opportunity that every month offers us. And some months are more obvious than others, because some months, if you have a month like Tishrei or you have a month like Elul, it's gonna be obvious what it is that you're trying to access during that month. But some months look like they come with nothing in them. It looks like there isn't an opportunity. It's an empty month. There's no such thing as an empty month, and there's no such thing as a month that passes by that doesn't bring you an opportunity for powerful spiritual growth. So it's almost like in every single month, we're walking in there with our plug, looking for the right socket to put that plug into, to draw the most amount of energy out of that month, to leave that month different. And yes, it's true that next year, as we pass through the calendar, we'll come to the same month again. But it won't be the same when we come to the same month again. We'll have mastered a certain aspect of what it is that we need to be working on in this month that will be different. And we'll be ready for kind of like the next level of mastering whatever area it is. Of course, in none of these areas do we ever kind of master and be like, I'm there. So for example, the energy of the month of Tevet was the energy of anger, mastering and working on anger. You never get to a place in your life where you can promise that you'll never be angry again, but you can certainly master aspects of it to make it easier for you, to lessen the challenge, to be able to face it in a different way when you get to next Tevet. So now we're walking into Adar and we want to know what is the opportunity for growth that Adar offers us. Where can we plug into when it comes to Adar? Now, the place that, for those of you familiar with this concept, the place that we often refer to is a book called Sefer Yetzirah, which is actually kind of like the original sort of source for Kabbalah, which gives us a few interesting hints as to how to draw this energy out of the month. And it'll tell us that with every month, there's a whole host of things that relate to the month, like a certain order of Hashem's name relating to the letters are ordered in a different way for every single month. There's a Hebrew letter that represents every single month, because actually Kabbalistically there's a Hebrew letter used to create every month. There's one of the 12 tribes that represents every single month. There is a body part representing every month. There's a sense of the body representing every month. There's a color representing every month. There's a whole host of things, and I'm not going to draw on all of those things, but I'll always tap into some of those things for what can be practically useful for our own growth. Okay, so we're going to talk about it's like looking at the zodiac or the horoscope of the month, but we want to find a way to kind of plug in spiritually, because it is certainly a Torah idea. That idea, we just have to kind of find the right sources for that. Okay. Now, before I get into all of those ideas, I actually want to draw on an idea that I heard once from Rabbanit Yemim Mizrahi. You may have heard it too, but I feel like this is a really nice, real, meaningful, almost like a mantra to enter this month with, okay? Is we know that the saying at the beginning of the month of Adar is, Mishanichnas Adar, Marbim B'Simcha. You walk into Adar and magic, happiness increases. Isn't that amazing that you woke up on Rosh Chodesh Adar feeling delighted and joyful? So I don't know if that worked for all of you. Some people may not have felt that feeling. How's that supposed to magically happen? So we're going to talk about that tonight, how suddenly Adar arrives and suddenly you're feeling joy. We'll get there in a second. But there's an idea that if you look at that sentence and break that sentence into the 4 words of that, it's kind of a good headspace to be in as we enter Adar. So let's look at those 4 words of Mishanichnas, Adar, Marbin, B'Simcha separately to give us a kind of an entry into Adar in the right kind of frame of mind. So this concept is from Rabbanit Yemim Mizrahi. So she says, Mishenichnas. What does Mishenichnas mean? Mishenichnas means when it enters or when you enter. You know, the place that you enter the most often is your own home, right? It's probably the place that you keep on coming back to. So we want to think about in this month, when you enter your home, what kind of energy are you bringing in with you? What is it that you're bringing from the outside to the inside? Okay. And being aware of the fact that whatever energy it is that you're bringing in with you affects everybody around you. And I hate to put pressure on you. I'm sure I've said this one before, right? I once spotted this on somebody's wall that says, when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Okay. Which basically means everyone feeds off your energy. Sorry, but the pressure's on you, which means that especially when you, as the mother of the house, as the wife of the house, walks into the door, it's not nice if anyone's in a bad mood either, but we're taking control of ourselves, right? When you walk into the door, assessing what it is that you're walking into the door with. And if you're bringing a negative, heavy energy into the door, look, obviously different days and different times in life are going to bring different things with them, right? But if you are in a place where that can be changed by taking a walk around the block, by taking a few deep breaths in, by being a little bit mindful before you walk into the door, and just being conscious of what you're bringing from the outside into the inside, into your sanctuary, into the place that is the safe place for everybody, to think about that before you walk into the front door. And actually, she actually says that if you feel that you're walking into a house where it's not a good energy and there's not going to be good energy inside, then she actually described, she said, you know, there's two kind of energies. There's people that are in conflict and fighting and it's not a happy space. And something even sadder than that is when the house is very, very quiet. And the reason that it's very quiet is because nobody's connecting to each other. Everybody's locked in their own rooms, on their phones, or on their computers, or disconnected in a way that's almost worse, because at least if you're fighting, you're interacting with each other, right? That's not so great either, but at least there's human interaction, okay? So if you're walking into a space that is not a good energy, or you feel you're not bringing a good energy, and she says, you put your hand on the mezuzah and you say, Et panecha Hashem avakesh. Hashem, I'm seeking your face. Like, Hashem, help me to align myself here, to come into the space in the right way and to bring the right energy into my home. And I heard somebody talking about the fact that their kids used to bring home from school in time for Adar a little sign to put on the door that says, Mishenichnas, our door, marbin besimcha. When you enter our door, your happiness is going to increase. So let's make it so. Let's take control of the fact that let's try and bring a happy energy into our own home, so that when you enter our door, you're entering a happy place. Okay? So that's Mishenichnas. The next word is Adar, and the word Adar is associated with Aderet, which is like a kind of like a disguise, putting like a disguise on something. And specifically when it comes to, well, we know when we talk about Purim, we talk about disguise, like, you know, showing yourself in a way that you are not necessarily, in other words, putting on a mask or putting on a costume. But actually, the disguise that we're talking about in terms of bringing happiness into Adar and bringing happiness into your home is the disguise of not always allowing everything that's in your head to come out your mouth. Okay, so the disguise is that sometimes you need to disguise your thoughts and not verbalize them. Now, we live in a world that doesn't embrace this concept so much, because we live in a world that says, like, speak your truth, be your authentic self, say what you're thinking, say what you're feeling. But the problem is that sometimes when you speak your truth and say what you're thinking and feeling, it is harmful and it's hurtful. So sometimes what we need to think about is what is going to come out of my mouth going to build or going to break? And if the answer is that it's going to break, we need to think twice, and we need to bite our tongue. And sometimes we need to bite our tongue hard. It's not easy always. It's not always easy to not say the thing that we're thinking. But if the thing that's going to bring ultimate happiness and is going to build is going to be about being quiet, put a disguise on it. You don't have to say it. So that's Mishenichnas Adar, Marbin. So it says that actually, I guess textually, when that word is used, it is often used in association with the concept of forgiveness. And the topic of forgiveness could probably be given a few of its own classes. So I'm speaking a little bit like, you know, but we obviously, if we're talking about like really big things that need to be forgiven, I'm not being flippant about it. And obviously that deserves its own kind of time. But on a surface level, the idea of forgiveness is that when a person holds on to not being able to forgive someone, really the person who's suffering is the person holding on to it, is you. In other words, you allowing somebody else to live rent-free inside your head and not being able to let go of that is holding you back. The likelihood is that the other person has forgotten about it long ago and moved on. But you're the one who's holding on to that bitterness or that negativity or the thing that you can't let go. In the month of Adar, if you want to access happiness and you want to bring that into your world, you have got to get to a space where you can start working on forgiveness. It's crucial to our own happiness, actually. Okay? So Mishenichnas, Adar, Marbin, and the last one is Besimcha. And you'll note that it says Besimcha, in happiness. And the truth is that this is probably the greatest secret to real happiness, which is Besimcha means in the Simcha, right here, right now, where you find yourself right now. Now, again, I'm not saying that flippantly because there are all sorts of life circumstances, and I'm not saying you always have to feel happy with the circumstance you find yourself in. Some circumstances are beyond that. But the idea is that the world that we live in encourages us that you will only be happy when. You'll only be happy when you have this, get that, achieve that, can buy that thing. And we know that that's not true. Besimcha means with what you have right now, that's where you need to find the happiness. Happiness will not come when you buy that thing, have that thing, access that thing. That isn't where happiness comes from. So Besimcha is the reminder to work on being happy with what I own or what I have or the circle, whatever I find myself in now. Okay, so if we are able to walk into Adar, mastering any one of those four things, Mishenichnas, be mindful about the way you walk into your door. Adar, disguise some of your thoughts, not everything in your head has to come out your mouth. Marbin, working on forgiveness. And Besimcha, working on being happy with what you have right now. If we could master any of those four things, or even a facet of one of those four things, we'd be doing very well and bringing a great energy into Adar. So with that idea in mind, now I'm going to go to these ideas that I spoke about right at the beginning, that the Sefer Yetzirah gives us as hints as to how to maximize the energy of this month. These ideas of what the zodiac or the horoscope of the month is, etc., etc. So let's look at what this month brings us. Okay. So first of all, the mazal of this month, or the zodiac, like the picture that represents this month, are the fish. Okay. So it's like a Pisces. The fish are represented. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm just going to give you the list of things. It's interesting to note that actually every month is one of the four elements, and this month is a water element. The tribe of this month is the tribe of Naphtali. So if you have a Naphtali in your life, Joe, you've got, if anybody else here knows a Naphtali or is a Naphtali or has a Naphtali in their family. And also, by the way, if your birthday or anybody around you's birthday is in Adar, this is extra relevant to them because the month that you're born in, it makes it super powerful for you. Okay, it's like extra relevant. The letter of the month is the letter Kuf, and the sense of the month. Now, the senses are sort of all different ways that the body expresses itself. So besides for the senses we're familiar, like sight, sound, taste, it's also things like sleep, dreams, and things like that. So the sense of this month is the sense of laughter. Sorry, excuse me, one sec. And the body part of this month is a really interesting one, which you may not have given any thought to ever, unless you've ever had an issue in this part of your body, is the spleen. The spleen. Okay. Now, interestingly, most months I would tell you that it's not coincidental that almost every month, when I talk about something to do with some part of the body or some sense, somebody will say, that's so weird. I've been having an issue in that part of my body this month, or like it's to do with sight. I've been having eye issues. I've been having, whatever it is. I don't know how many people have had spleen issues, but it's just interesting to note that if that's ever come up, it's not coincidental. Okay, if it falls in this month, take note. Okay, so now let's think about what any of those things have to do with us and how we can kind of tie that all together to draw what we need to draw out of the month. Okay, the letter of this month. Sorry, one sec. The letter of this month is the letter Kuf. Now it says that actually in its essence, the letter Kuf represents the word Kedusha, which is holiness. So in its essence, the Kuf is a holy letter, okay? But it says that actually, if you look at the word that represents so in Hebrew, when you look at a letter, the letter always has a word describing it. So in other words, last month's letter was the letter Tzaddik. But we also know that tzaddik means something. So we're going to talk about who's a tzaddik in that month. So this month, when we look at the word kuf, we're looking at what does kuf mean? What does the actual word kuf mean? So the thing it's closest to is kuf, which is a monkey. Okay. Now, the concept of kuf being about holiness and the kuf, which is a monkey, do not seem aligned to each other. I wouldn't say that a monkey is like the animal you'd use to represent some kind of holiness. So what is it alluding to? What's it trying to tell us? So it says that the thing about a monkey, the thing that a monkey is known for is that it is an imitator. It's known for imitating. So you know how there's the saying, monkey see, monkey do, right? A monkey is known for copying people, for doing things that people are doing, and kind of, I guess, almost being a bit like human in the way that it does that, okay? So a monkey is known for being an imitator, and that's why it's likening it to the letter kuf, because it says that the kuf is actually a mimic. It's an imitator. And who is it imitating? It's imitating the letter Hey. Okay, there's a similarity between the letter Hey and the letter Kuf, which doesn't exist anywhere else in the Aleph base, because go through it in your head. If you're familiar with how each letter looks, you'll see that the Kuf and the Hey are the only two letters made up of two lines like that, not joined, two separate lines. Okay, the difference between them is that the Hey sits above the line, and the kuf has a leg poking down through the line. Okay, what does that mean? So it says the Hey is associated with Hashem, with heavenly kind of kingship and holiness, and the kuf is associated with a kind of an earthly kingship. In other words, because that leg goes through the line, it indicates to us that everything above the line is in the world of, in the realm of, you know, the world above, the spiritual, and everything below the line is in the physical world. So because the kuf's leg dips into this world, it's telling us that the kuf is trying to mimic the Hey by being as holy as the Hey. But the thing is that because it dips its head into this, because it dips its leg into this world, it's a little bit at risk. It can go two ways. When you dip your leg into the world of the physical, there's two ways that can go. Either you immerse yourself in physicality so much that you're just drawn down into the physical, or you take the physical and make it spiritual. And that's really our job in the world, right? Is to engage with the physical and turn it into something spiritual, to invest physicality with holiness. You know, we're not put into the world to abstain from anything physical. Hashem wants us to have pleasure out of the world. So he wants us to find ways to take this physical world and make it something holy, to take the ordinary and make it extraordinary. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. So that really is what the kuf could be doing. It could be dipping its leg into this world because it's part of the physical world, but it's creating, you know, holiness in this world. But it can also go the wrong way. So it's a little bit kind of, it's an either way situation, but it has the potential to be almost like that Hey. It just depends which way it uses that leg in this physical world. That's the kuf, the imitator, the one that's trying to be like the Hey, but is dipping below the line. And the next one, and interestingly, it actually says that this concept of imitating, this idea of the monkey that imitates, and this kuf that's imitating the Hey, it says when it comes to the concept of imitating, it's interesting to note that on Purim, we dwell on this idea of imitating and looking like somebody else and putting on a costume that makes us look like somebody else. But you know, there's tremendous potential for great holiness that can come out of that, because like everything on Purim, there is a tremendous opportunity for huge spiritual access through the practices of what we do on Purim. Now, I mean, we talk about the idea that actually the level of holiness that can be accessed on Purim is likened to the level of holiness that can be accessed on Yom Kippur. That's why it says Yom Kippurim and Yom Purim, right? There's a similarity between the two, which seems crazy because the practice for both of those are so radically different. What would you rather be doing? Standing in shul all day fasting and davening, or dressing up and drinking and giving shalach manos to people? But actually, there's a way through all of those things, if done right, that can get us to the same point of holiness by doing a very different kind of act. So here in this concept of dressing up, but people, of course, make big mistakes when it comes to this, which is why we're not always going to see that on Purim, right? Even the idea of, you know, drinking until you don't know the difference between, if you don't know who you are anymore, right, then you've missed the point. They're not going to access holiness through that, okay? But even this idea of dressing up, what's the holiness that can be accessed through dressing up? Is it says that when a person hides their identity behind a mask, when a person disguises, mimics, looks like something else than what they are, and sort of playfully like imitates others, it says that when somebody needs to mute. So it says that when a person's earthly identity is altered, it can be easier to reveal who we really are. You know that feeling of like being in a show or play or putting on a mask or dressing up as something? It makes you feel a bit like you're not you. So you can kind of do things that you wouldn't normally do if you were just you. You're behind a mask, you're dressed up, you can kind of get away with things or act in a way. I don't mean inappropriate, I'm just saying in a way that's different to what you'd normally do because you're hidden a little bit. So it's telling us that actually the deepest level of this, and a way that one can sort of spiritually connect through this, is that when you're hiding your physical earthly identity, it might help you to access the essence of who you really are. But of course, it's a fine line, as are all these things. So that's the kuf. The sense of the month. The sense of the month is laughter. Now, laughter is a very interesting thing. I don't know if you've ever given it thought before, because laughter is a very interesting response that the body gives to a circumstance outside of the body, right? Like when you have real laughter, you can't control it. It just comes. Like, where does it come from? What makes you laugh? Now, there's two different kinds of laughter. I mean, maybe you could divide this into further divisions, but let's say there's two kinds of laughter. There's what we'd call, let's say, sort of like a nervous laugh, or like a fake kind of laugh, or false laugh, which is the sound of laughter, but it doesn't really sort of like affect you internally. So you can kind of give a polite, like kind of laugh, right? But it's not really, nothing's happening inside. Now think about, and I'd be interested to know, because I think this is something you think about in Adar, is how often do you have the opportunity to laugh, but like really laugh, like have a good, proper belly laugh when you've got like tears rolling down your eyes? How often does that happen? I'd venture to say, for a lot of people would say not so often, not often enough, okay? But you know how you feel after a good laugh like that? There's something amazingly like cleansing about it. It's like having a very deep breath. It's like a very good feeling to have a very, very good laugh and just kind of let go and let it all out and laugh till you're crying. And a lot of people will say that there's one person or two people who's the kind of person they would laugh like that with, who really get them or understand them or they appreciate their sense of humor. It's not all the time that we'd be able to laugh in that way. But I'm telling you that the kind of laughter that you access in that kind of laughter is something that we need to try access in Adar. Really, we need to try access that often, but Adar is a good place to start. Like if you have that person in your life that makes you laugh like that, make sure to spend some time with them in Adar. Make a date with that person. It's good to have that kind of laugh, okay? So what's the difference between that kind of nervous laugh, that kind of polite laugh, and that good, real belly laugh, which according to this, it calls holy laughter. That kind of real letting it go laughter, it's called holy laughter. Why is it called holy laughter? Because when you laugh, that let it all out, let it all go kind of laughter, what you're really doing is you're expressing the recognition that the world is full of paradox, that you can let go of the fact that at the same time as you laughing, it's true that there's negativity, that not everything in your life makes sense, that the world doesn't make sense, that it's not all logical, but you can kind of let it go and still laugh and still laugh. And how is that possible? So really what you're saying when you laugh like that is, I'm acknowledging the fact that paradox exists because Hashem runs the world and I don't run the world. And the thing that makes me not able to let go and laugh often is this illusion that I have that I think that I run the world and that I can't let go enough to just be able to like, oh, and have a good laugh, right? That I need to be holding everything and controlling everything and running the show. And it's an illusion. You know, a few months ago, in the month of Kislev, where the sense of the body is sleep, we spoke about people who have a hard time falling asleep. And that's somewhere deep under that concept of the hard time falling asleep is this idea that if I fall asleep, what will happen to the world? Who's going to hold it up, right? Now, you know that not you, you will fall asleep and amazingly the world will still exist tomorrow morning, hopefully, okay? In other words, you are not holding the world up. So that illusion that I need to be in control all the time and I need to hold it together all the time is the essence of it is not recognizing the fact that Hashem's running the show. Give over the illusion. Have a laugh. Have a laugh because it's not all fine and it's not true that everything is okay and there's lots of things that are not logical and still have a laugh. That's what it calls holy laughter. Holy laughter is the recognition that Hashem's running the world and there is paradox and I can still laugh in that. It's the recognition of that. The nervous laughter, is the kind of holding on. And actually it says, it's interesting to note that there are a lot of comedians that are very depressed people. It's interesting that you can be saying jokes and saying very funny things, but it doesn't get to the core of you. And that's actually not really what real happiness is, funny jokes. And, you can say it. I'm sure we can all think of, stories of celebrities and comedians and people who, it's not what you'd think. You'd think, what? That person just looks so happy all the time. How can it be? But the laughter we're talking about is the laughter that comes from the inside, not that superficial kind of ha, ha, ha laughter. So that is the laughter of this month. That's what we're trying to access. Okay, so when we talk about this idea of Mishanichnas Adar, you know, Adar is going to come in and all of a sudden you're going to be laughing and hysterical. It's not laughing like you're immediately thrilled about everything. It can't be. It's not possible. But it's this idea of laughing like besimcha, like finding joy in where you are right now, even if not everything's easy. Finding the laughter there. Now, the sign of the month, the picture of the month that represents this month, the zodiac, is the fish. The Hebrew word for fish is dagim, and it says that fish live underwater and are therefore hidden from us. And the idea behind the fish being hidden from us is that anything, well, first of all, something hidden already reminds us of the whole concept of Purim, is the idea of this hidden, you know, miracle that happened in the Purim story, that it's all kind of behind the lines, that Hashem's name's not mentioned in the Megillah, that you really got to kind of look for what's going on inside there, and that if you wanted to just pass it off as coincidence, you could. You really have to look at the story and kind of draw out what's really happening there. So this idea of fish in the water, that you can't see what's happening there, there's something hidden. But it also says that fish, because they're in a hidden place, it says that the Talmud says that bracha comes from hidden places. In other words, that whenever things are not in the public domain, that's really where bracha becomes attached. So we live in a world that tells us if you've got it, flaunt it. People need to know what you have. People need to see. You don't actually have it until everybody's validated it and seen it. And this idea of the fish is exactly contrary to that, which is hide it, keep it quiet. Nobody needs to know. That's where the bracha comes from. That's what the fish are representing. The idea that blessing comes from the hidden things. It doesn't need to be public. And also the word for fish, which is dag or dagim, is associated with the Hebrew word da'aga, which means worry, anxiety. And this idea that's associated with this concept of holy laughter, which is that when we're feeling worried and we're feeling anxious, we can't have holy laughter because we're holding on too hard. So this month is the month to work on this concept of worry. I don't mean, again, this is not a flippant thing to say, because if you're somebody that really suffers from worrying about things all the time, it really is hard to let go. But the idea behind the fact that obviously the more you worry doesn't solve or sort out the thing that you're worrying about, right? It's a little bit like standing by the lift and pressing the button like 100 times. You know, you only need to press it once. It doesn't come faster if you like keep doing that, right? So worrying more and more and more doesn't bring the reality that you're waiting for. In fact, if anything, it makes things worse. It's not always so easy to switch it off just knowing that, but that's something to work on during this month of Adar. Is this idea of worry, which is really stopping us from getting to that place of holy laughter. The tribe of the month, which is Naphtali. So it says that Yaakov blessed Naphtali. The blessing is to be as swift as a deer. Now that might sound like a bit of a strange blessing. Where is the blessing in that? So it says Naphtali had this trait of alacrity, of being quick, of being swift. What's the big bracha of being swift? So it's not just a physical thing. It doesn't just mean that he was fast. We're actually really talking about something almost emotional. It says that worry and doubt weigh a person down. And for a person to be able to be light on their feet, what that really means from an emotional sense is to embody like emotional lightness and flexibility, to be somebody who can move on, to be somebody who doesn't get drawn into and drawn down by every experience that they have, to be somebody who can tolerate paradox in the world, to be somebody who can dance through life, even when stuff is hard, to kind of pick yourself up and keep going. So that blessing of being light on his feet is not just about being quick. It's about being able to be flexible in life and to move from situation to situation and not get stuck in the situation. So it really is a blessing. That's an amazing trait to have. And that's something that also can be worked on during this month of Adar. Now, the body part of this month, I don't know how many of you know anything about the spleen. Feel free to jump in there if you have more information. I think it's a lesser known body part. Okay. But if anybody wanted to know, the Hebrew word for the spleen is tehol, in case anybody needed that in conversational Hebrew, if you were chatting about your spleen to someone. Okay. So the spleen is, according to the Talmud, it says that the spleen is the organ connected with laughter. But contradicting that, the Zohar says that the spleen is connected to depression. So how is it possible that the spleen represents both laughter and depression? So it says that the way to reconcile these two ideas is that shallow laughter is what brings about depression. Like we speak about comedians who might also be very miserable. Shallow, superficial laughter, that's not that real letting go kind of laughter, is what brings about depression, because it's the holding on, it's the control. And that the kind of laughter that we're talking about, this deep, pure laughter, actually comes through the idea of yira, of awe, of a kind of a level of emunah, I guess, in a sense, like a shift in a person's perception that Hashem's running the world, and I can laugh, and I can laugh. It's not me that's running the world. That's the holy laughter, and that's how those two can coexist. In other words, both are possible, and both seem to sort of live in the spleen. It's possible that this depression that comes from sad, holding back kind of laughter has something to do with the spleen, or this kind of holy laughter, which I guess makes a healthier spleen. So it's good for us to have good, let it go kind of laughter. The spleen's function in the body is to filter and cleanse the blood of worn or deficient blood vessels. And the Zohar says that wherever you see a body part that takes the role of a filter. So for example, last month, in the month of Shvat, the body part was the duodenum, which is associated with digestion, okay? So when there's a body part that, for example, is involved with grinding down parts of food that it's taking some of the nutrients in and letting some of the stuff out that's not good for the body, or in this case, the spleen, which is kind of separating what's toxic and bad for the body and sending infection away and, refining things so that it is good for the body. Anywhere where there's the sign of a filter, it associates it with the trait of gevura, okay? Now, I don't know if you know about the trait of gevura, but we talk about gevura as not somebody who's strong, like muscle strong, but somebody who's got a kind of a inner strength. And gevura is also always associated in that strength with boundaries, okay? So anywhere where there's a filter and it's associated with gevura, it's associated with boundaries. And if we're talking about this month that will bring us to a place of happiness and how we're supposed to access this happiness, boundaries is a really good one, okay? Because often the things that leads people to not be able to be happy and to not be able to find happiness in where they are and in relationships and things like that is the lack of, or the inability to balance their own boundaries. And so if that's something that resonates with you, this is a very good month to work on your boundaries, okay? Because that is actually something that can help us to access a deeper level of happiness. Right. Okay, so now this idea of, sorry, I wanted to think of one or two other things to mention because there's so many things to say. So the idea that, first of all, talks about the fact that, we know that the comparison to this month of Adar, or the opposite of this month, is that when the month of Av comes in, we talk about the idea that Mishenichnas Av, Mama'atim b'simcha. When the month of Av comes in, like happiness is decreased. So again, there's also an idea you're supposed to wake up on the first day of Av and feel very, very sad. But there's something in the energy of the month that decreases the access to happiness. So in order to access happiness, we can also think about one of the things to get to that place is the stuff that you're not allowed to do in Av, you should be doing in Adar. So things like not listening to music in Av, you must listen to music in Adar. If music helps you access happiness, put on music in your house and make sure. And like, you're not allowed to be buying new clothes, and some of the time buy yourself new clothes this month. Whatever it is that gets you to, you can say that you got permission from the Torah for this, right? That anything that helps you to access a level of happiness that you wouldn't be allowed to in a time where you're working on kind of being sad like that, right? You dafka should do during this month. You should try and access that. And it says that a person was not first of all, it talks about the fact that it says, the Rambam talks, when it talks about prophecy, when it talks about a person receiving prophecy, it says that the Rambam says that it's not the prophecy that made a person holy, but it was the holiness that a person possessed that made him or her fitting to receive prophecy, okay? And that prophecy can only come to somebody who's happy. Do you know, you couldn't receive nevuah if you weren't happy. Now, what does that tell you about happiness? Because it couldn't have been that anybody who was a Navi was constantly floating in and out of happiness depending on what they were feeling that day, that one day they could access nevuah, but the next day they couldn't because they didn't have the car they were dreaming about. What does it mean? That you can only access nevuah if you're happy means that happiness cannot be dependent on external things. It's a state of mind, right? And the representative, or sort of like the proof of this concept is, and this is recent in the parashas that we've just passed through, is right. It says when Yaakov came to Mitzrayim, it says that the famine stopped because he brought the Shekhinah with him. He brought Hashem's presence with him. But before that, it just told us about him that the Shekhinah had left him. Why did it left him? Because he was so sad about Yosef, because he didn't know where Yosef was. He was so sad about that he couldn't be a happy person. And because he couldn't be a happy person, he couldn't access any kind of nevuah, any kind of connection with the Shekhinah in that way. The minute he felt at peace and happy that he knew where Yosef was, miracles could happen because he could access that connection with Hashem again. So this concept of being able to, look, I don't know how many of us are able to access nevuah, but you never know, okay? But in order to allow ourselves to get anywhere close to that place of connection is this actual concept of working on happiness, which might sound a bit sort of like, well, how can I be happy if you're working on it? But that's the point. The happiness is not this idea of woohoo, it just happens to you. This is the idea of something that actually takes work, takes investing in. This idea of the learning to let go, the idea of working on the worry, the idea of, the concept of this holy laughter, that it's not an instant thing. And you do not wake up on the 1st of Adar and suddenly access the deepest happiness. That's not what it means. Actually, in a sense, I think what it means is that when you're working through the months, in every month, you access a different energy, and each one leads to the next one. So if you want to follow through, and by the way, this is the last, right? So this is the accumulation of all the energies until now. So if we just work through the last few months, right? When we were in the month of Hanukkah, which was in Kislev, right? The theme of the month was light and miracles. And then weirdly, straight after Kislev came Tevet, which had this really strange energy of anger and chaos, which doesn't seem to naturally follow like light and miracles. But actually, the lesson in that month was the idea that we have so much light to bring into the world, but sometimes that light gets a bit sort of hidden by anger and chaos. And the source of anger and chaos is ego. So the effort of that month was working on ego. And it says that when you get that out of the way, your light can shine again. You can get to that place where your light can shine again. And the next month after that, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, the month that we've just passed through now, was the idea of Tu B'Shvat and the growth of new fruits. It's about renewal and new growth and the sap rising in the trees, that you're ready for that when you've gotten the barriers out of the way, like ego and things that were getting in the way of your growth. Now you're ready to access, this new kind of growth and getting rid of the superficial and the exterior to really focus on the inside. And then actually you're ready to step into the month of Adar. And then you're ready to kind of wake up on the 1st of Adar feeling happy. It's not happy like woohoo kind of happy. It's happy like an inner peace kind of happy. Like a being okay with yourself kind of happy, and being at peace in some way with the world, despite for the fact that it doesn't always make sense and it doesn't always feel logical and it isn't always, fit like a puzzle that fits together. And yet, okay, so that's the idea of, you don't wake up on the first day of Adar happy. There's a kind of a work involved in it, but it is accessible, and this is the month to access that. And then also I'll quote Rabbanit Mizrahi again. She says that there's another idea associated with what brings us to a place of happiness. What's the thing that makes us feel happy in Adar? What's something else that helps us to access happiness? So there's a saying that says, "Ein simcha kahatarat sveikot." There's no deeper joy than the clarifying of doubt. That if you're in a place where you're doubtful, where you're doubting something, where you can't decide, should I go this way or should I go that way? Should I make this decision or should I make that decision? Should I go to that school or that school? Should I marry him or shouldn't I marry him? Should I say yes or should I, whatever? Should I take that job? Should I not take that? Whatever it is, that sometimes just making the decision, the clarity and the peace of mind that you get from just choosing one thing can be enormous. There can be a source of great happiness to be able to make that decision. So it says, if you've got big decisions to make, this is the month to make them in. This is the month to make those big decisions in. And this month comes with a very big muzzle. There's big bracha in this month. So contrary to the month of Av, which we said is like the opposite of this month, we warned actually that if you have any big court cases or any operations or anything, do not schedule it for the month of Av. Actually, it says, schedule it for the month of Adar. Schedule, if you had a court case or something that needed to be decided, you should do it in the month of Adar. Adar has got what it calls a very healthy muzzle. It's got a very good muzzle this month, right? So how do we go about this clarifying of doubt, this making a decision? So Rabbanit Mizrahi says, There's two characters in the story of Purim who are great examples for us of how you get to this place or don't get to this place. Who are the two characters? One is Achashverosh and one is Mordechai, the two like key players, right? It says, what do we know about Achashverosh? Achashverosh's character is symbolized by his name. Achashverosh is Chash Verosha. He has a headache. Why does he have a headache? Because he spends his entire life trying to get everybody to like him. He wants to be liked. He needs to be validated. He'd like everyone to click like on Instagram or Facebook, and he can't feel happy until he's got everyone's likes. So if one person hasn't pressed like, he's very busy wondering, wow, what have I done? What have I done? What should I do different? He spends his life trying to please everybody, and you can't win in life trying to please everybody. It's not possible, because if you're trying to please everybody, it means you're not being true to yourself and your values. You can't be. On the flip side, we have Mordechai. And what's the root of Mordechai's name? The word derech. What does derech mean? Derech means a road, one road. If you walk down one road, you've got to say no to the other three roads. You've got to choose one road. And that means not walking down those other roads. It takes a decision. It takes being brave. But when you walk down that one road, true to yourself, true to your values, representing one thing and being brave about it, not stepping down, not doing what other people do because that's what everyone's, if you don't bow and that's not your thing, you don't bow. No matter what people are saying and no matter what people are doing, you don't go down that road. You keep walking your road. That is this idea of the clarifying of doubt, is make a decision and walk down that road. Don't spend your life being Achashverosh, trying to be everywhere and everyone and please everybody. Make a decision and walk with it. And this is the month to make that decision. And the last thing I'll end on is the idea that it talks about this month as a month of muzzle and a month of healthy muzzle, and that good things happen in this month. But it doesn't mean that this month is the good luck month. That's not the idea, is that there's like a good luck charm in this month. More than that is that this month is the idea of a sad story that totally turns on its head and becomes good. That darkness flips around and turns to light. That what looked like it was going to be the end of the Jewish people turned up to be celebration. Not only does this month have the capacity to be about good muzzle, it's much more than that. It's the capacity that this month has for darkness to become light, for negative to become positive, for something to flip around and become what you never thought it could be. So please God, I wish for all of us that if there's anything that is a challenge for you at any point in your life, that how you see it now, Adar is going to give you great perspective, because it's going to turn it on its head and you're going to see the other side of it and what it really is and where the positive and the growth in it is. And that's what leads us to this ability to be able to have laughter and holy laughter, and through that deep connection with Hashem and with ourselves and healthy spleens and a very, very happy Adar. So thank you all for joining. And really, and if you even go through that idea again of Mishanichnas, Adar, Marabim, Besimcha, if any of those four mean something to you, use them and practice them. It should be a happy and healthy and blessed Adar for you all. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you. Actually, Rebbetzin Silber said this morning that Reb Nachman of Breslov says that the Adar has to nichnas into you. We have to nichnas Adar into ourselves. So everything that you have spoken about tonight has really taken us into a place where we can literally take these things and we can enter it into our beings. So thank you. That was really very beautiful. And I just wanted to add that this week's share is also sponsored Le'ilui Nishmas Kreina Bas Walter. And I'm sorry, I just want to add one more, and I don't have it. 1 second. And also Gershon ben Zev Reuven. Really, we should just only have simchas, refuahs, and yeshuas for everyone. Now that I've worked very hard on putting my dough here in front of you instead of the machine, and have my 3 doughs that I did, but I'm only going to be mafresh on 2 of them together so that I can be mafresh tomorrow again on the 3rd. And I have to say that I do think that when we do put our extra koiches instead of just putting it in the machine and letting the machine do it, we actually have the beautiful feeling of that dough. So let's go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivanu להפריש חלה מן העיסה. הרי זו חלה. In the zechus, in the merit of the mitzvah
Amen.
of challah, that we should
Amen.
just
Amen.
go ahead to find our simcha, true inner simcha, that we should look after all the gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us and show him and tell him that we have that simcha, and now all we need is to greet Mashiach and be able to recognize every little bit of simcha. And as you were talking about that, Ora, we have something in our family that they call an Auntie Shelley moment. And oy vey, here goes on Auntie Shelley, and that's when my one sister and I get on the phone, and if there's something that is just like funny, we don't even, there's just sort of like the reverberating and the laughter and the things, and we have to be very grateful for those moments, because it is really something that we should just all be blessed with, is the inner contentment, the inner peace, and the bracha that should be kaful with the base, the resh and the chaf. Base is 2, chaf, resh is 200, and kaf is 20. So everything's doubled. And that should be the blessing for all of us. So thank you, and thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing, and thank you everybody for being here, and good Shabbos.
Thank you,